So today we're going to talk about how to use what we've learned so far to make some predictions. And we're just going to skip right over number 1 and 2. So if you want, you can scratch those out. Let's skip down to this section over here on chores, numbers 3 through 6. So here this table tells us what kind of chores students don't like to do. For example, 7 do not like to clean their room. 4 don't like to take out the garbage. 5 don't like to wash the dishes, and so on. The question that we're asked here is, use the table to predict the number of students out of 528. They would say each of the following was their least favorite chore. So let's pretend that there are 528 students in your school. How many of those students, based on this table, would choose cleaning their room as their least favorite chore? To solve these problems, what we do is set up a proportion. But first, we're going to need to know how many students there were total in this survey. So let's add those up really quick. So when I added those up, I got that there were a total of 24 students who participated in this survey. So let's compare the number who don't like to clean their room, that's 7, to the total. Okay, so 7 chose cleaning their room out of a total of 24. We want to know how many out of a total of 528 would say that they do not like to clean their room. So here we have a proportion. I am going to use my cross products to solve this proportion, which means that I am going to write an equation. 7 times 528 is equal to 24 times x. 7 times 528 is 3,696. So now I have 3,696 equals 24 times x. To figure out what x is, let's divide both sides by 24. And I found that 3,696 divided by 24 is equal to 154. So based on that proportion, I would say that 154 students out of 528 would choose cleaning their room as their least favorite chore. So I am going to skip over washing the dishes. You can skip over it too. And let's look at walking the dog. So 3 students out of 24 said walking the dog is their least favorite chore. So let's figure out what that would be out of the total number of 528. We're going to use the same process we did before. So we're going to identify our cross products here. We're going to have 3 times 528, and that's going to equal 24 times x. This is similar to before, right? So we need to figure out what 528 times 3 is. So it looks like 528 times 3 is 1,584. That's all equal to 24x. So our next step, like before, will be to divide both sides by 24 to figure out what x equals. 1,584 divided by 24 is 66. So that tells me that 66 students out of the 528 would choose walking the dog as their least favorite. So we could use that process for this entire table, couldn't we? What we did first, like for cleaning our room, is we identified the number of students who chose that. We wrote that as a ratio over the total number that were surveyed. And then we compared that to the total number of students in the school. So in this case, that was x over 528. For the dog walking, we had 3 students out of 24, and we compared that to x over 528 again. So that's how we can use survey results to make predictions. Let's take a look. I'm going to skip number 6. Let's take a look down here at our circle graph that talks about favorite types of books. So it tells us that the results of a survey ask teens their favorite type of book, and the results are shown there. So we can see 25% like science fiction, 37% like mystery, 25% like adventure, and 13% like romance. And then our problem asks us, out of 250 teens, predict how many would choose mystery as their favorite type. All right, well, I know that 37% chose mystery. I'm going to give myself some space down here. So I'm going to write that as a ratio. 37% is the same thing as 30 over 100. I want to know how many out of 250 would choose mystery. So I know 250 is going to be on the bottom since that's the total number of students, and I'm going to put my X on the top. And now I have a proportion that I can solve. Let's get our proportions set up for B and C. It should be a very similar process. So for B, once again, we have 250 students, and this time we're looking at adventure. So in this case, we want to use 25%, which written as a fraction is 25 over 100. And then finally, out of 250 teens, predict how many would choose science fiction. So science fiction has the same as adventure. Notice they both have 25%. So we could write a proportion for this, but do we really need to? No, because we should get the same answer for these two problems for both B and C. All right, I want you to pause the video and figure out these answers on your own. Once you figured them out, hit play again and see if you got them right. All right, so now we have your predictions for mystery, adventure, and sci-fi. Do you notice something kind of funny about these? They have decimals, and we're talking about people. So if I really want to make a reasonable prediction, I'm going to round these to 93 people, 63 people, and 63 people, since we can't have part of a person. But this is how we can use proportions to make predictions based on data from either a table, a circle graph, or even a bar graph.